मधुरं वसनं मधुरं वलितं मधुरं चलितं मधुरं भ्रमितं मधुरं
मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरं मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरम्
वेणुर्मधुरो रेणुर्मधुरः पाणिर्मधुरः पादौ मधुरौ नृत्यं मधुरं सख्यं मधुरं
मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरं मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरम्
गीतं मधुरं पीतं मधुरं भुक्तं मधुरं सुप्तं मधुरं रूपं मधुरं तिलकं मधुरं
मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरं मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरम्
तरणं मधुरं तरणं मधुरं हरणं मधुरं स्मरणं मधुरं वमितं मधुरं शमितं मधुरं
मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरं मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरम्
कुञ्जा मधुरा माला मधुरा यमुना मधुरा वीथी मधुरा सलिलं मधुरं कमलं मधुरं
मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरं मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरम्
गोपी मधुरा लीला मधुरा युक्तं मधुरं मुक्तं मधुरं दृष्टं मधुरं शिष्टं मधुरं
मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरं मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरम्
गोपा मधुरा गावो मधुरा यष्टिर्मधुरा सृष्टिर्मधुरा दलितं मधुरं फलितं मधुरं
मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरं मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरं मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरं मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरम्
सद्गुणों की साधना में ध्येय ज्योति नित परमात्मने नमः।
ॐ श्री परमात्मने नमः।
श्रीमद्भगवद्गीता
श्रीमद्भगवद्गीता
अथ सप्तमोऽध्यायः।
अथ सप्तमोऽध्यायः।
श्रीभगवानुवाच
श्रीभगवानुवाच
मय्यासक्तमनाः पार्थ
मय्यासक्तमनाः पार्थ
योगैर्युञ्जन्मदाश्रयः
योगैर्युञ्जन्मदाश्रयः
असंशयं समग्रं माय
असंशयं समग्रं माय
यथा ज्ञास्यसि तच्छृणु।
यथा ज्ञास्यसि तच्छृणु।
ज्ञानन्तेऽहं सविज्ञानम्
ज्ञानन्तेऽहं सविज्ञानम्
इदं वक्ष्याम्यशेषतः।
इदं वक्ष्याम्यशेषतः।
यज्ञात्वा नेह भूयोऽन्यज्
यज्ञात्वा नेह भूयोऽन्यज्
ज्ञातव्यमवशिष्यते।
ज्ञातव्यमवशिष्यते।
श्री गुरुचरण सरोज रज निज मनु मुकुरु सुधारी। बरनौ रघुबर विमल जसु जो दायकु फलचारी। बुद्धिहीन तनु जानिके सुमिरौ पवन कुमार। बल बुद्धि विद्या देहु मोहि हरहु कलेस विकार। जय हनुमान ज्ञान गुण सागर जय कपीस तिहु लोक उजागर। रामदूत अतुलित बल धामा अंजनी पुत्र पवन सुत नामा। महावीर विक्रम बजरंगी कुमति निवार सुमति के संगी। कंचन बरन विराज सुबेसा कानन कुंडल कुंचित केसा। हाथ वज्र और ध्वजा विराजे कांधे मूज जनेऊ साजे। शंकर सुवन केसरी नंदन तेज प्रताप महाजगवंदन। विद्यावान गुणी अति चातुर राम काज करिबे को आतुर। प्रभु चरित्र सुनिबे को रसिया राम लखन सीता मन बसिया। सूक्ष्म रूप धरि सियहि दिखावा विकट रूप धरि लंक जरावा। भीम रूप धरि असुर संहारे रामचंद्र के काज संवारे। लाय सजीवन लखन जियाए श्री रघुबीर हरषि उर लाए। रघुपति कीन्ही बहुत बड़ाई तुम मम प्रिय भरतहि सम भाई। सहस बदन तुम रोजस गावे अस कहि श्रीपति कंठ लगावे। सनकादिक ब्रह्मादि मुनीसा नारद सारद सहित अहिसा। जम कुबेर दिक्पाल जहाते कवि कोविद कहि सकै कहाते। तुम उपकार सुग्रीवहि कीन्हा राम मिलाय राजपद दीन्हा। तुम्हरो मंत्र विभीषण माना लंकेश्वर भय सब जग जाना। जुग सहस्र जो जन पर भानु लील्योताहि मधुर फल जानू। प्रभु मुद्रिका मेलि मुख माहि जलधि लांघि गए अचरज नाही। दुर्गम काज जगत के जेते सुगम अनुग्रह तुम्हरे तेते। राम दुआरे तुम रखवारे होत न आज्ञा बिनु पैसारे। सब सुख लहै तुम्हारी सरना तुम रक्षक काहू को डरना। आपन तेज सम्हारो आपे तीनों लोक हांकते कांपे। भूत पिशाच निकट नहीं आवे महावीर जब नाम सुनावे। नासै रोग हरै सब पीरा जपत निरंतर हनुमत वीरा। संकट ते हनुमान छुड़ावे मन क्रम वचन ध्यान जो लावे। सब पर राम तपस्वी राजा तिनके काज सकल तुम साजा। और मनोरथ जो कोई लावे सोई अमित जीवन फल पावे। चारों जुग पर ताप तुम्हारा है है प्रसिद्ध जगत उजियारा। साधु संत के तुम रखवारे, असुर निकंदन राम दुलारे। अष्ट सिद्धि नौ निधि के दाता, असवर दीन जानकी माता। राम रसायन तुम्हारे पासा, सदा रहो रघुपति के दासा। तुम्हारे भजन राम को पावे, जन्म जन्म के दुख बिसरावे। अंत काल रघुबर पुर जाई, जहाँ जन्म हरि भक्त कहाई। और देवता चित्तन धरई, हनुमत से सर्व सुख करई। संकट कटे मिटे सब पीरा, जो सुमिरे हनुमत बलबीरा। जय 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 हनुमान गोसाई, कृपा करहु गुरुदेव की नाई। जो सत बार पाठ कर कोई, छूट ही बंदी महासुख होई। जो यह पढ़े हनुमान चालीसा, होय सिद्धि साखी गौरीसा। तुलसीदास सदा हरि चेरा, कीजय नाथ हृदय महडेरा। पवन तनय संकट हरना, मंगल मूर्ति रूप। राम लखन सीता सहित, हृदय बसहु सुर भूप। सियावर रामचंद्र की जय, पवन सुत हनुमान की जय। उमापति महादेव की जय।
Jai Shri Krishna. In Zoom meeting, if you want to turn off the notification of Zoom chats, then click on the chats and then click on these three dots. Turn off notifications, click on that. Click on the mute option and now chats notification will not disturb you. Jai Shri Krishna.
सच्चिदानन्दं वासुदेवं व्रजप्रियं धर्मसंस्थापकं वीरम् कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्।
Jai Shri Krishna to all. I heartily welcome all of you to the Vivechan session of chapter 7 of Śrīmad-Bhagavadgītā, that is Jnān Vijñān Yoga, the yoga of knowledge and realization. First and foremost, I would like to bow down in the lotus feet of Shri Krishna and Param Pujya Swamiji Govind Dev Giriji Maharaj with their utter blessings and grace. I would like to invite Bharti Paudalji, who is from Nepal, currently residing in Texas, USA, to offer prayer in the lotus feet of Sri Hari. She is a social worker. She loves to enrich her knowledge, learning new things. She is educated as bachelor graduate and giving seva as co-trainer, group coordinator and technical assistant. Welcome, Bharti.
जय श्री कृष्ण। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णो वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। कृष्णो वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। जय श्री कृष्ण।
Thank you, Didi, for the beautiful prayer. Diya lighting is embellishing and adorning the pious aura of Shri Krishna with beauty and divinity. For this, I would like to invite Shashikala Kondapalle ji from Hyderabad, who is a retired teacher. She is educated as MA B.Ed. She joined Geeta Pariwar in January 2026 and she is giving seva as technical assistant and group coordinator in various levels like L1, L2 and L3. Welcome Shashikala Didi.
निषिद्धैरप् प्येभिर्लुलितमकरन्दो मधुकरैः करैरिन्दोरन्तश्छुरित इव सम्भिन्नमुकुलः विधत्तां सिद्धिन्नो नयनसुभगामस्य सदसः प्रकीर्णः पुष्पाणां हरिचरणयोरञ्जलिरयम् शरदिन्दुनिभां शुभ्रां शुभ्रवस्त्रैरलङ्कृतां कलहंसकृतावासां वरदां शारदां नुमः वरदां शारदां नुमः.
Thank you, Didi, for this beautiful diya lighting. And now, before we move on to the main session, I have few announcements. And if you all face some technical issues during the session, I would like to give you some of the suggestions. If there's no sound, plug in the headphones or increase the volume of your phone or computer. If the chat box is blinking continuously, tap the bell icon at the top right corner to mute the notifications. If the voice is breaking or cutting, check your internet connection. If possible, use Wi-Fi and not the mobile data. If screen is not visible, click on Start Video in the Zoom. If the screen is blurry, then you have to switch to your network. If the Zoom keeps disconnecting, you can watch the session via the YouTube link. And if the Zoom suddenly closes, you can rejoin using the meeting link. And now the most important announcement, the golden batch, that is the 50th batch of Learngeeta, is commencing from 16th of October. And how we all can contribute is we can encourage and share with everyone the link to make maximum registrations to the Learngeeta. The link is joingeeta.com. And the biggest motto of everybody should be Geeta in every home and every hand. And now is the time that we should get to know about the scintillating speaker of today's session, who is none other than Shri Vikas Vaidya Bhaiya. He has been NRI for 12 years and he has traveled the world, educated as BE Mechanical and PG DBM. He owns a small IT company. He's based in Pune. He's a master of many languages like English, Hindi, Marathi, Indonesian, Malayalam, and Spanish. Since last 5 years in his daily routine, he recites 18 chapters of Bhagavad Gita daily. He's serving as co-trainer for L1 to L4 levels and also serving in the trainee selection department and the trainers training department from L1 to L4. He is fully involved in teaching and also in the Vivachan sessions of Vishnu Sahasranam. As a member of Pune Geeta Pariwar, he is guiding the Geeta Vratis to prepare for Shringeri Geeta exam also. He has given Geeta Kantastikaran exam at Shringeri Peeth and received the first prize at the hands of Param Pujya Jagatguru Shankaracharya Ji. As a prolific writer, he writes a daily Marathi newspaper column on the Bhagavad Gita, presenting the timeless wisdom in practical and contemporary manner for everyday life. He successfully completed the Shringeri Sharda Peeth Bhagavad Gita Kantastikaran examination. His unique ability to combine corporate leadership, global experience, scriptural scholarship has helped so many people throughout in the learning of Gita. And now is the time that I would like to invite Vikas Vaidya Bhaiya for this wonderful Vivachan session of today. Welcome, Bhaiya.
I'm not yet joined.
Meanwhile, Bhaiya joins, I would like all of you to know about the golden batch that is starting of Learngeeta program. It is starting from 16th of October. And our biggest motto, everyone's motto should be to encourage maximum people and share the link with all those who are interested in enriching their knowledge in this spiritual pathway. Meanwhile, I would like to tell a little more about Vikas Vaidya. His works have received international recognition through live 1-hour radio interviews on Sydney Radio, Australia, and FM Radio Ambala, where he spoke on the relevance of Bhagavad Gita and Vishnu Sahasranam in modern life. He also organizes and participates in a lot of Bhagavad Gita Parayan programs internationally, particularly in Sydney and London. He has served as a senior manager with Tata Group for 15 years, and then he later worked for 12 years as consultant to the Ministry of Strategic Industries, Government of Indonesia. As I've already told you, he has traveled a lot around the globe, and he's a master of many languages also. Any idea, Didi, how Bhaiya will be joining soon? I hope so.
I informed Didi. We'll join soon. Okay.
We can play a bhajan, Didi, if you can. Meanwhile, Bhaiya join us.
Adaram Maduram Vadanam Maduram Nayanam Maduram Hasitam Maduram Hridayam Maduram Gamanam Maduram Vachanam Maduram Charitam Maduram Vasanam Maduram Valitam Maduram Chalitam Maduram Brahmitam Maduram Panirmadurah Padau Madurau Nrutyam Maduram Satyam Maduram Madhuradhipate Akhilam Maduram Madhuradhipate Akhilam Maduram Pītam Maduram Bhuktam Maduram Suptam Maduram Rupam Maduram Tilakam Maduram Madhuradhipate Akhilam Maduram Madhuradhipate Akhilam Maduram Taranam Maduram Haranam Maduram Smaranam Maduram Vamitam Maduram Shamitam Maduram Madhuradhipate Akhilam कुञ्जा मधुरा माला मधुरा यमुना मधुरा वीथी मधुरा सलिलं मधुरं कमलं मधुरम् लीला मधुरा युक्तं मधुरं मुक्तं मधुरं दृष्टं मधुरं शिष्टं मधुरम्
जय श्री कृष्ण।
Jai Shri Krishna Bhaiya.
वसुदेव
Welcome.
सुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं पूज्य स्वामी जी के चरण कमलों में कोटि कोटि नमन। We are starting a new adhyaya today. Last week we finished adhyaya 6th Atma Samyam Yoga. Next, Jnana Vijnana Yoga, 7th adhyaya Bhagavad Gita. The first 6 adhyaya Bhagavad Gita, they prepare the devotee, the seeker, by teaching the importance of right action, karma yoga, self-discipline, indriya nigraha, mano nigraha, meditation, dhyan, and mastery over mind. We learned that in Atma Samyam Yoga. A natural question now arises. Who is the one for whom all these disciplines are practiced? Karna kya hai sab ek karke? This chapter, 7th adhyaya, Jnana Vijnana Yoga, it answers this question. That all this karma yoga, self-discipline, meditation, mastery over mind, we are doing for what? That what is explained in this adhyaya. This adhyaya answers this question. Here Shri Krishna begins to reveal his true nature. Until now, he has taught Arjuna how to live, L-I-V-E. Now he begins to explain who he really is. This adhyaya is called Jnana Vijnana Yoga. Jnana means theoretical knowledge. The understanding gained through study, through listening, and self-reflection. And Vijnana means the realized knowledge, the knowledge which we have acquired through scripts, through scriptures, by study, by listening, to bring it into practice. That is Vijnana. The wisdom gained through direct spiritual experience is to be brought into practice. That is Vijnana. Knowing that fire burns is Jnana. Putting your hand near the fire and experiencing its heat is Vijnana. Everybody knows this. So this is called Jnana. You know the thing that if you put your hand near the fire, it will burn. This is Jnana. But practically putting your hand near the fire and experiencing the heat of that fire is Vijnana. Similarly, reading that God is everywhere is knowledge. Gita says, all scripture says, Bhagavan Sabjari, Vasudhyam Sarvaiti. This is knowledge. Seeing God in every person, every situation, and every experience is the realization of this knowledge, which is called Vijnana. Throughout this adhyaya, Shri Krishna Bhagavan, he gradually removes Arjuna's ignorance. He explains to Arjuna his divine nature, the mystery of Maya, the different kinds of devotees. 4 kinds of devotees, Artho, Jidna, Swaratharthi, we will study that. Why people worship different deities, that also Krishna explains. And finally, leads us to one of the greatest declaration of Bhagavad Gita, Vasudevam Sarva Iti. Everything is indeed the divine. For a family person like us, this adhyaya has immense practical value. It teaches us how to remain spiritual while fulfilling our responsibilities, how to transform ordinary work into worship, and how to discover peace in the pressure of modern life. So let us start this beautiful journey of Dhyana Vijnana Yoga. First Adhyay, first Shloka. Now, how this first Shloka is connected with the sixth Adhyay? As we remember, sixth Adhyay concluded with the remarkable declaration that among all yogis, the one who worships me with unwavering faith is the highest yogi. That we have learned at the end of sixth Adhyay, 47 Shloka. This naturally raises an important question in Arjuna's mind. Who are you, whom I should worship with such devotion? This Adhyay begins by answering exactly this question from Krishna. Shri Krishna now shifts the discussion from practice of yoga to the object of yoga, for whom we are doing this yoga. Until now, Arjuna has learned how to discipline the body, senses, mind, and intellect. Sharir, Indriya, Mana, and Buddhi. Now Shri Krishna begins revealing the supreme reality towards which all spiritual disciplines ultimately lead. So this marks one of the most important turning points in Bhagavad Gita. With this, we start reading the Adhyay. Śrīmad-Bhagavadgītā Maya Saktamanah Partha Yogayunjanmadashrayah Asamshayam Samagram Mai Yathajñāsasi Tacchruṇo. Mai means in me. So one whose mind is attached or lovingly absorbed. Partha is of course Arjuna. Prataptra Arjuna. Yogam, the yoga, the discipline union with the divine is yoga. Yunjan is to practice, abhyas karna, to engage into. Mat ashraya, taking refuge in me, depending on me. This mat ashraya, asamshaya, without doubt. No samshaya. Samagram, completely, in totality. Mam, me, yatha, how, in what manner, jnasasi, you will know, tat, that, shrunu, listen. Shri Bhagavan says, Arjuna, now with your mind completely attached to me, Maya Saktamanah Partha, practicing yoga, yoga injan, taking refuge in me, Madashraya, listen to how you can know me completely and without any doubt. So this Adhyay gives that knowledge. At the beginning of this Adhyay, Shri Krishna takes Arjuna to the next level of spiritual understanding. In the previous Adhyayas, Shri Krishna explained Karma Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and the discipline of controlling the mind, Atmasanyam. Now he explains how one can actually know the supreme reality through this spiritual sadhana, which he has taught in previous Adhyayas. The first word that catches our attention is Maya Sakta Mana, with your mind attached to me. Shri Krishna is not asking Arjuna to run away from the world. He is asking him to change the direction of his mind. Change the direction of your mind from world to me. That's all. Maya Sakta Mana. Our mind naturally becomes attached to money, to possessions, to success, to entertainment, or people, or achievements of life. Krishna says, instead of allowing your mind to be completely absorbed in temporary things, develop an attachment towards the eternal divine. But how can we do this? Shri Krishna gives the next important instructions, Madashraya. Take refuge in me. Taking refuge does not mean abandoning our responsibilities. It means developing the inner convictions that I will do my duty sincerely, but I will depend upon God for the result. That is Madashraya. Then comes Asamshayam Samagram Mam. Know me completely and without doubt. Shri Krishna is not speaking merely about knowing his name or form or stories. He wants Arjuna to understand the supreme reality behind the entire universe, its source, its sustaining power, and its ultimate destination. This is why Shri Krishna combines knowledge and devotion. Intellectual knowledge alone may remain in our head, isn't it? Devotion alone, without understanding, may sometimes become merely ritualistic. But when knowledge, devotion, and practice, jnana, bhakti, and abhyas, they come together, spiritual understanding becomes deeper and more stable. A little boy wanted to learn how to play piano. He watched many videos and memorized the names of the keys also. He could explain music beautifully, but he could not actually play. It was all theoretical knowledge. Then his teacher said, "Now sit beside me, practice every day, and follow my guidance." After months of practice, the boy could finally start playing. Similarly, reading about God is knowledge. Practicing devotion is experience. We cannot discover the divine merely by collecting information, isn't it? Many people can read many books. Do they understand divine? We must bring our mind, our heart, and our actions closer to Him. Then only we can try to understand Him. By merely reading books, we cannot understand God. So this shloka teaches us that focus your mind on God, take refuge in Him, practice sincerely, and you will gradually know the Supreme. Not merely intellectually, but deeply and without doubt. Continuing, second shloka. Now the second shloka, it connects with the first shloka. How does it connect? In the first shloka, Shri Krishna invited Arjuna to develop loving devotion towards him. Maya Saktamana Partha Yogi Madashray. Take refuge in him and practice yoga with the focused mind. The emphasis was on attitude of the devotee, attitude of the seeker. A sincere seeker may now ask, Lord, what will I gain by taking refuge in you? Madashray ho gaya, what will I gain? Shri Krishna answers this question in this second shloka. He promises to impart not merely knowledge, jnana, but also realized wisdom, which we call as vidyan, realized wisdom. A complete understanding of the supreme reality, jnana and vidyan. It is one of the greatest promises made anywhere in the entire Bhagavad-Gītā. So second shloka says, Jnanandeham savidnanam idam vakshamya sheshatah yajñatmaneho bhuyo nyaj jnatavyamavshishyate. I shall now explain to you in full both knowledge and realized wisdom, both jnana and vidyan. Having known this, nothing further will remain to be known in this world. Yajñatmani bhuyo na jatamavashishyate. So every human being is a devotee. From childhood to old age, we are constantly learning. We seek some knowledge, not necessarily about God, but we are all seekers, seeking some knowledge. From childhood to old age, we are constantly learning. We learn languages, we learn science, we learn history, technology, business, medicine, finance, and countless other subjects. Yet, despite possessing enormous amount of information, many people still ask, why am I not truly happy? This shloka addresses that very question, why I am not happy. Lord Shri Krishna declares that there is one kind of knowledge which gives meaning to all other knowledges. He says, Jnanam teham sa vidnyanam idam bhakshyami sheshatah. Notice the two words, jnana and vidyan. They are not identical. Jnana is intellectual knowledge. Jnana is learning through study, through listening, through observation, or through reasoning. For example, reading about nutrition is jnana. Studying the principles of meditation is jnana. Understanding the teachings of Bhagavad-Gītā, jnana. Knowing that anger harms relationship is jnana. Knowing that God is present everywhere is also jnana. All this is valuable, of course, yes. But it remains knowledge in the head only. Then what is Vidyan? Vidyan is the realized wisdom. Vidyan is knowledge that has become part of one's life. It is the difference between reading about swimming and actually swimming. Reading about swimming is Jnana. Actually swimming is Vidyan, bringing that into practice. Studying music and performing beautifully. Jnana and Vidyan. Learning about compassion and genuinely becoming compassionate is Jnana and Vijnana. Similarly, a person may memorize every shloka of Bhagavad Gita, yet still become angry over small matters. So he has got Jnana, but no Vijnana. Another person may know only a few shlokas, but leave them every day. The first possesses Jnana, the second possesses Vijnana. Shri Krishna does not wish Arjuna to become merely a scholar. He wants him to become a realized human being having both Jnana and Vijnana. This distinction is particularly important in today's world. Never before has humanity had access to so much of information what we have today. Internet and AI and whatnot, everything is available. Within seconds, we can reach millions of articles on a particular issue, watch lectures by renowned teachers, and read countless books. Yet, anxiety, depression, loneliness, and stress, they continue to affect our millions of people. Why? Now you have got so much information, why are you still affected? Because information does not automatically produce transformation. Wisdom begins only when knowledge enters the heart and changes the behavior. That's why Pujya Swami always says, Gita पढ़े पढ़ाए और जीवन में लाए. जीवन में लाना is विज्ञान. पढ़े, everybody can read Gita. Okay, fine. You attend Gita classes, learn pronunciation, so you got Jnana. In Viveka Sutras, you also learn the meaning of it. Okay, very good. Jnana. Has it changed your behavior? Has it changed the way you think or you perform your karmas? That is Vijnana. Shri Krishna then makes an astonishing declaration. Having known this, nothing further remains to be known. How can one subject contain all knowledge? Jnana, Vijnana, this knowledge contains all knowledge. The answer lies in the understanding the source of this knowledge. Suppose a botanist she studies every leaf on a tree separately. It takes many years. The tree may have thousands of leaves. Another scientist studies the root, the soil, and the biological processes that nourishes the entire tree. By understanding the source, countless observations become meaningful. Similarly, modern education often teaches us about the branches of life. The Gita teaches us about the root of existence, root of this universe. Once the root is understood, every branch becomes clearer. Knowing God is not an escape from worldly knowledge. It is the wisdom that gives proper direction to worldly knowledge. A brilliant engineer without values can misuse technology. A successful businessman without compassion may exploit others. A powerful politician without wisdom may misuse his authority, which we see very often. Knowledge alone is never enough. Knowledge guided by spiritual realization becomes a blessing for the society. Dr. Meera was one of the finest cardiac surgeons in her city. Her patients admired her skill, and her colleagues respected her intelligence. Yet, one evening, after losing a young patient despite her best efforts, she broke down. She said to her elderly mentor, I know everything about the human heart, but I don't know how to deal with the pain of losing someone. The mentor, he gently handed her a copy of Bhagavad Gita. Over the next few months, she began reading a few shlokas every morning. Gradually, she realized that her duty was to give her very, very best, but the final outcome was not entirely under her control. This understanding did not make her less committed. It made her more peaceful, more compassionate, and more humble. Years later, she told her students, medical science taught me how to save lives. Gita taught me how to live the life. She had moved from knowledge to wisdom. This is the journey from Jnana to Vijnana. So practical lessons for family life, our family life are Never stop learning. But remember that character is more important than information. Read one shloka of Gita daily and practice at least one teaching. Teach children not only what to think, but how to live wisely. Success without values, they create stress. Success with spirituality, it creates fulfillment. Convert knowledge into habits. Kindness practice is greater than kindness discussed. Ask every evening, did today's knowledge improve my behavior? So every night before sleeping, write down. This week, let us take this as our homework. Write down on a piece of paper one new thing I learned today. And second, one way I applied it in real life. What I have learned, have I applied in my real life? After the end of the week, notice whether your knowledge is becoming experience, whether your jnana is becoming vidyan or not, or whether it's still remaining at jnana level only. So the key takeaway from this shloka is Shri Krishna promises not merely to answer Arjuna's question, but to reveal the highest wisdom that unless philosophy, that unites philosophy, devotion, and daily living. When we know the divine as the source, sustainer, and the goal of life, every other form of knowledge finds its proper place. This is the beginning of the true wisdom and foundation of a peaceful, purposeful, and God-centered family life. Continuing, next shloka. Now this shloka connects with the earlier second shloka. How? In second shloka, Shri Krishna made an extraordinary promise that I shall reveal to you complete knowledge and realization, jnana and vidyan, after knowing which nothing else remains to be known. A thoughtful seeker may naturally wonder, if this knowledge is so precious, why does not everyone attain it? Shri Krishna answered this question in this shloka, third shloka. He explains that spiritual realization is not rare, but God is difficult to find. It is rare because very few people sincerely seek Him as the ultimate goal of their life. The shloka reads, Manushanam sahasreshu kaschid datita siddhayai yadadam siddhanam kaschinmam vetti tattvataha. Among thousands of people, Manushanam sahasreshu, scarcely one strives for spiritual perfection. Kaschid datita siddhayai. Even among those who sincerely strive and attain spiritual maturity, hardly one truly knows me in my essential nature. So, at first reading, this shloka may appear discouraging. That even after studying so much, hardly one fellow can know God. Then who am I? I probably may not know God anytime. Because I am not exceptional. I am an ordinary man. Shri Krishna says that among thousands, only one strives for spiritual perfection, and among those seekers who seek spiritual perfection, only a rare one truly realizes Him. Is Krishna suggesting that God realization is almost impossible for a common man? Certainly not. He is simply describing human priorities. Look around the modern society. Thousands dedicate years to building successful careers. Thousands spend enormous effort earning wealth, improving physical appearance, acquiring degrees, investing money, and gaining recognition. These pursuits are not wrong. The Bhagavad Gita never condemns honest work or education or prosperity. The real question is, how many people devote the same sincerity to understanding themselves? आत्म ध्यान की तरफ कितना लोग ध्यान देते हैं? Do they take the same efforts for आत्म ध्यान? Most people ask, how can I earn more and more? Very few people ask, who am I beyond my profession? मैं हूँ beyond my profession, who am I? Most people ask, how can I live longer? Very few people ask, what is the purpose of life? Most seek comfort, few seek the truth. This is what Shri Krishna means by Manushyanam Sahasrashu. The rarity lies not in God's availability, but in humans' aspiration. Humans don't aspire for God. The second part of the shloka is even profound, more profound. Even among sincere seekers, only a few God know tattvataha in his true essence. Why so? Because spiritual life has many stages. Some seek God only during difficulties. Some seek Him for prosperity. Some are attracted by miracles. Others become fascinated by rituals or by intellectual debates. These are valuable beginnings, but they are not the final destination. To know God tattvataha means to recognize Him as the source of all existence, the indwelling self in all beings, the support of every action, the ultimate object of love, and the eternal reality beyond all names and forms. Some realization requires not merely intelligence, but purity of heart, humility, namrata, perseverance, and divine grace, of course. Another important lesson emerges from this shloka is spiritual growth is not a competition. Shri Krishna is not asking us to compare ourselves with others. He is inviting us to ask, am I sincerely progressing from where I was yesterday? Compare yourself with yourself. Don't compare with others. Even a small daily effort matters. 5 minutes of prayer offered with love may spiritually be more valuable than hours of mechanical ritual. One act of genuine forgiveness may reflect greater realization than many philosophical discussions. The Gita repeatedly teaches that God values sincerity more than display. For family people like us, this shloka is deeply encouraging. One need not renounce the world to strive for spiritual perfection. A patient raising children honestly, rather the parent raising the children honestly, a doctor teaching the patient honestly, a professional performing his work ethically, a son caring lovingly for his aging parents, or a homemaker serving the family with devotion, all can walk the path towards God when their actions are performed with the remembrance of divine. Every such small act can become a spiritual sadhana, provided they do it with proper remembrance of the divine. Perfection is not found in changing our circumstances. It is found in changing the consciousness with which we live. Two classmates, they graduated from the same engineering college. Arun, he became CEO of a successful technology company. Vivek, another one, he chose simpler career as a school teacher. CEO of a technology company and a school teacher. 25 years later, they met at a reunion. Arun proudly described his achievements: international travel, luxury homes, and business awards. He then paused and quietly admitted, I have everything I dreamed of, but I still feel something is missing in my life. Vivek was a school teacher. He smiled and he replied, I earn much less than you. But every morning, I spend half an hour studying Bhagavad-Gītā before going to school. Teaching children has become my worship. Teaching children has become my worship. I may not have become rich, but I have become peaceful. Arun asked him, when did this change happen? Vivek, he answered, it began the day I stopped asking, what can I get from life? And started asking, what does God want me to become? That simple change of question transformed his life. Success had made one man accomplished. Seeking truth has made the other fulfilled. So we should reflect on these questions. What occupies most of my thoughts each day? Achievement or inner growth? Am I pursuing success alone or also striving for wisdom? What one spiritual habit has genuinely changed my life? If someone observed my daily routine, would they conclude that God is important to me? Am I becoming more humble as I grow spiritually? Reflect on these questions. So for this week, we can take a practice for a few thoughts. For the next 7 days, begin each morning by asking yourself one question. Today, what one action will bring me closer to God? At night, spend 2 minutes reflecting on whether you lived according to that intention. This simple practice gradually shifts the focus from merely living successfully to living purposefully. So this sloka teaches us that God realization is not rare. If we say it is rare, it is not because the God is hidden, but because few people seek Him with wholehearted sincerity. Those who make God the highest priority of their life, cultivate humility, practice steadily, and purify their hearts, gradually move from knowledge to realization, from jnana to vijnana. The true measure of success is not what we possess, but what we become in the presence of God. Fourth sloka. Now this sloka is related to earlier, third sloka. Shri Krishna explained in the earlier sloka why only a few people truly know him. Anusharam Sahasreshu. Most people remain occupied with the external world and fail to seek supreme reality behind that. A sincere seeker may now ask, if God is the source of everything, then how has this vast universe come into existence? Shri Krishna begins to answer this profound question in the Shlok 4. He introduces the concept of his lower material, apara prakriti. And in the next shloka, he will explain his higher spiritual nature, that is the para prakriti. So two important definitions we learn, para prakriti and apara prakriti. Together, these two shlokas provide one of the clearest explanation of creation found everywhere, anywhere in Bhagavad Gita. So the first shloka reads, Bhumirapo nalo vayo khammano buddhirevacho ahankari iti yamme binna prakritirattada. Bhumi, earth, Aap, water, Anal, fire, Vayu, air, Kham, space, Mana, Buddhi. Mana is mind, Buddhi, intellect, Aham is ego. These 8 constituent, they constitute my separated material nature. Itiyam me binna prakriti. So this shloka marks a significant shift in Krishna's teaching. Until now, he has primarily discussed devotion, faith, and spiritual realization. Here he begins explaining the very structure of the universe. Shri Krishna declares that everything we experience in the material world belongs to his prakriti, or material energy. He lists 8 components of this prakriti. The first 5 are the 5 great elements, Pancha Mahabhut, earth, water, fire, air, and space, Pancha Mahabhut. They are not merely physical substances, they are universal principles. Earth represents stability, firmness, and structure. Water represents adaptability, nourishment, and emotional flow. Fire symbolizes energy, transformation, digestion, light, and intelligence. Air represents movement, communication, and vitality. Space provides room for everything to exist. Without space, nothing else could function. After describing the external universe, Shri Krishna surprises us by including 3 internal components of this Ashtada Prakriti. Mind, intellect, and ego. Modern science often studies the external universe in great details. But Shri Krishna reminds us that in inner world, the inner world is equally important than external, as important as the external world. Our happiness is not determined merely by external conditions. It is determined by how our mind our intellect and our ego respond to those external conditions. For example, two people may receive the same criticism. One becomes deeply hurt, the other accepts it calmly and learns from it. The external event is identical in both the cases. The difference lies in their inner instruments. This insight is remarkably relevant today. People spend enormous time decorating their homes, improving their appearance, and upgrading their profession or their possessions. Very few devote equal attention to improving their mind, refining their intellect, and reducing their ego. Shri Krishna's teaching reminds us that inner development is just as important as the outer achievement. Don't focus only on your external possessions. Work on your mind, work on your intellect, work on your thoughts and your ego. Another profound point emerges from this shloka. Shri Krishna says, "These are my separated material nature." Notice that he does not say, "These are me." He doesn't say, "This is me." Rather, he says, "They are his energy." An electric fan, a refrigerator, or a computer perform different functions, yet all operate because of the same electricity. Similarly, the entire universe operates through God's energy. The material universe is real, useful, and sacred, but it is not independent of its divine source. This understanding changes our relationship with the world. Instead of becoming attached to possessions, we become grateful stewards of the God's creation. Instead of exploiting nature, we start respecting it. Instead of identifying ourselves merely with the body and mind, we begin seeking the divine reality that empowers them. So this shloka lays the philosophical foundation for both environmental responsibility and spiritual awakening. A successful architect, he spent years designing magnificent homes. One day, his 10-year-old daughter asked him, "Dad, you build beautiful houses, but who builds the people who live inside them?" The question surprised that architect. He realized that he had spent decades understanding the concrete, the steel, electricity, and design, but had given very little thought to understanding the human mind and soul. That evening, he began reading Bhagavad Gita. As he studied this shloka, he understood something profound. A beautiful house is important, yes, but a peaceful mind is even more important. Strong walls cannot guarantee a happy life. A luxurious bedroom cannot guarantee restful sleep. Modern technology cannot replace inner contentment. From that day onwards, he continued building excellent houses, but he also made time every morning for prayer, for meditation, and for Bhagavad Gita study. He often told young architects, "Never forget that the greatest building project is the construction of your own character." So reflect on these questions. Which of the 8 aspects of Prakriti dominate my life the most? Mumira, Pondalo, Vayu, Khamanu, Buddhirevacha, Ahangara. These are the 8 things. Which of these 8 aspects of Prakriti dominates my life the most? Do I spend more time developing my outer life than my inner life? How often does my ego create unnecessary conflict? Do I treat nature with gratitude and respect? What one habit can I cultivate to strengthen my mind and purify my heart? So take a practice for this next 1 week. Choose one element each day and consciously appreciate God's presence through it. For example, drink a glass of water with gratitude. Water is Panchama Bhut. Water Prakriti Ashtada. Watch the sunrise and reflect on the divine energy. Sit quietly under the open sky. Come, take a mindful walk, feeling the movement of air, Vayu. Water a plant with reverence. Let every encounter with the nature remind you of its divine source. So this shloka teaches us that the entire material universe, both the outer world and the inner psychological instruments, is God's material energy. While these 8 components are essential for worldly life, they are not our ultimate identity. By respecting creation without becoming attached to it, and by cultivating the inner world as carefully as the outer one, we begin the journey from material awareness to spiritual realization. Let's go to next shloka, fifth shloka. Fifth shloka is connected to fourth shloka. In fourth shloka, Shri Krishna described his apara prakriti, ashtada apara prakriti. The lower material nature consisting of panchama bhuta, earth, water, fire, air, space, along with man, buddhi, ahankar, mind, intellect, and ego. A thoughtful seeker may now ask, if all these are material, then what gives life to the body? Why is a living person different from a dead body? A dead body also has legs, hands, eyes, ears, nose, but has no life. So who gives life to that body? Shri Krishna answers this profound question in this shloka, fifth shloka. He introduces his another prakriti, which is para prakriti. The earlier prakriti what we studied was the jad prakriti, without chetana. That is apara prakriti. His higher spiritual nature is that para prakriti, the conscious principle that animates every living being. This shloka is one of the clearest explanations in Bhagavad Gita of the distinction between matter and consciousness, para and apara, jad and chetan. A subject that continues to intrigue philosophers, scientists, and spiritual seekers alike. The shloka reads, Aparem tasvanyam prakritim vidyame param jiva bhutam mahabaho yedandharyate jagat. This material nature is my lower nature, that ashtada prakriti what we read, Bhumira Ponalo Vayu. Krishna says, but now, O mighty Arjuna, Mahabhahu Arjuna, that besides it, there is my higher nature, the conscious living principle, Jiva, by which this entire world is sustained. Having explained the material world in the earlier shloka, Shri Krishna now reveals something even more fundamental. He says, this is my lower nature. That apara prakriti was Paramatma's lower nature. There is another higher nature. This higher nature is the consciousness. The distinction between matter and life is one of the greatest mysteries of existence. A human body contains the same chemical elements before and after death. The organs may still be present. As I said, eyes are still intact, ears are there, nose is there, hands, legs, everything is there. The brain is still there. The heart is still there. Yet, something immeasurably precious has departed from the body. That something is what Shri Krishna calls Jiva Bhuta, the living conscious principle. This shloka reminds us that life cannot be fully explained by matter alone. The body is like a beautifully designed musical instrument. But without the musician, it remains silent. Similarly, the body is an extraordinary instrument, but consciousness is the player. Without player, body is meaningless. Modern technology provides another useful illustration on this. A sophisticated smartphone, which all of us use these days, may contain the latest processor, cameras, memory, and software. However, if the battery is completely drained, it cannot perform any function. The hardware remains intact, but the energy that enables it to function is absent. While this analogy is not perfect because consciousness is far greater than electrical energy, it helps us understand Krishna's point. Matter alone does not explain the life. Consciousness gives meaning and direction to the matter. This teaching has profound implications for our family life. Today's world often evaluates people by external measures, appearance, wealth, education, profession, social status, or popularity. Shri Krishna asks us to look deeper. Every human being is fundamentally a spiritual being, temporarily using a physical body. When we remember this, our relationships change. We become less judgmental. We become more compassionate. We learn to value people not merely for what they possess, but for who they truly are. Another beautiful truth emerges from this shloka. Shri Krishna says that his higher nature sustains the world. Dharayate jagat. The universe is not held together merely by physical laws. Behind those laws is the divine intelligence. Just as the unseen roots sustain the mighty tree, the unseen divine consciousness sustains the visible universe. This realization transforms our attitude towards life. Instead of feeling isolated, we begin to experience ourselves as part of a living, intelligent, and sacred universe. Faith then ceases to be blind belief. It becomes a recognition of the divine presence that silently sustains every heartbeat, every breath, and every moment of existence. A young software professional, he proudly demonstrated his highly advanced humanoid robot at an international technical exhibition. The robot could speak, answer questions, recognize faces, and even imitate emotions. The audience applauded enthusiastically. After the presentation, an elderly professor asked a simple question. Can your robot love its mother? The engineer smiled awkwardly and he said no. Can it forgive someone who has hurt it? The engineer said no. Can it pray? The engineer said no. The professor gently replied, your machine can process information. A human being can experience love, sacrifice, gratitude, compassion, and devotion. Never confuse intelligence with consciousness. That evening, the engineer reflected deeply. He realized that despite all technological progress, science still could not manufacture a living soul. Months later, he began studying the Bhagavad-Gītā. He often told his colleagues, we build intelligent machines, robots. God creates conscious beings. That realization made him both a better engineer and a more humble human being. So reflect on these questions. Do I identify myself primarily with my body or with my deeper spiritual identity? How often do I judge people by external appearance? Am I nurturing my soul as carefully as I nurture my career? Do my daily actions reflect respect for the divine in others? And what one change can I make this week to become more spiritually aware? So get engaged into practice this week. Whenever you meet someone, whether a family member, a colleague, an employee, a domestic worker, or a stranger, pause for a moment and silently remind yourself the same divine consciousness that lives in me also lives in this person. Observe how this simple practice changes your speech, your attitude, and your relationships. So this shloka teaches us that while the body, mind, and the material universe belongs to God's lower nature, apara prakriti, the consciousness, the living principle, is his higher nature. The body gives us a place to live, but consciousness gives us the life itself. When we begin to see every person as the manifestation of the divine consciousness, our relationships become more compassionate, our work becomes more meaningful, and our spiritual journey truly begins from that point onwards. So these two shlokas, 4 and 5, always are studied together. Together they answer one of the humanity's oldest question: what is matter and what gives matter the life? Answer this: what is matter? Krishna has answered it 4th shloka. And who gives the matter the life? Krishna has answered that in 5th shloka. So para and apara prakriti, these two important terminologies we have learnt in these two shlokas. These two shlokas form the philosophical foundation for the rest of Bhagavad Gita, para and apara. Let us go to next shloka, 6th shloka. Now this shloka is connected to shloka number 4 and 5, which we have just finished. Shri Krishna explained in the earlier two shlokas, 4 and 5, the two fundamental aspects of his divine nature. Apara prakriti, the lower material nature consisting of panchama bhuta, mind, intellect and ego. Bhumirapo nalo vayo kham manam buddhi revacha ahankara. And para prakriti, the higher spiritual nature, the conscious principle that gives life to every living being in apara prakriti. A natural question now arises: how do these two natures come together to create the universe? Shri Krishna answers this in this shloka, shloka number 6. He declares that the entire universe originates from him, exists because of him, and ultimately merges back to him. This shloka is one of the clearest statements in Bhagavad Gita regarding God, both as the creator and as the ultimate refuge of all existence. The shloka says, Etadhyonini bhutani sarvani ityupadharyo aham krishnasya jagatah prabhavah pralayas tatha. Understand that all beings arise from these two nature. Which two nature? Para prakriti and apara prakriti. I am the origin of entire universe and I am also its final dissolution. Aham krishnasya jagatah prabhava pralayasta. Prabhava is the origination. Pralaya is dissolution. So every child eventually asks profound questions. Where did everything come from? Isn't it? Scientists explain the evolution of stars and galaxies and planets and life. These discoveries deepen our understanding of the universe and deserve respect. Yet, science itself continues to explore what preceded the observable universe and why the laws of nature are so remarkably ordered. Bhagavad Gita approaches the question from a different perspective. It asks not merely how was the universe formed, but what is the ultimate source that makes both matter and life possible. Shri Krishna answers with remarkable simplicity. I am the origin of the entire universe. Prabhu. Notice that he does not merely say he created the universe long ago and then withdrew from it. He is the continuous source of its existence. Just as the sunlight continuously radiates from the sun, the universe continuously depends upon the divine for its existence. If that sustaining presence were withdrawn, nothing could continue to exist. Shri Krishna then adds another equally profound truth. I am also its dissolution, pralayas tatha. Everything in the material world follows a cycle. A seed becomes a tree, the tree bears fruit, eventually it withers and returns to earth. A child becomes an adult grows old, then the body eventually returns to its elements. Stars are born, shine for millions of years, and finally collapse. Change is the law of material universe. Yet, behind every change stands the changeless reality. Krishna is teaching Arjuna to shift his attention from temporary forms to eternal source. From apara to para. This understanding transforms our outlook on life. We naturally become attached to positions and relationships and achievements and even our own physical body. There is nothing wrong with the loving about these gifts from Prakriti. The problem begins when we assume they are permanent. That is the problem. The Gita reminds us that everything borrowed from material world will one day return to that world. Recognizing this truth does not make life gloomy. Instead, it teaches us gratitude instead of possessiveness. Remain grateful to the God for giving this body to you. Don't become possessive of it. When we know that every blessing comes from God, we value it more deeply. When we know that everything is temporary, we learn to love without clinging to it. For family life, this teaching is invaluable. Parents often become anxious about controlling every aspect of their children's future. Children sometimes believe that they own that they own their parents' affection. Couples may imagine that happiness depends entirely on external circumstances. Krishna gently reminds us that all relationships are sacred trusts entrusted by God. We are caretakers, not the owners. This attitude introduces fear, softens attachment, and increases love. Another beautiful implication of this shloka is that nothing is outside God's presence. Creation begins in Him, Prabhava, it continues through Him, and it ends in Him, Pralayastata. Therefore, every moment of life becomes an opportunity to remember Him. We came from Him and we are going back to Him. So remember Him every moment. Whether we are celebrating success or facing failure or welcoming a newborn child or bidding farewell to a loved one, the divine remains the constant companion throughout every stage of existence. This realization brings both courage and peace of mind. A successful entrepreneur, he spent 30 years building a large manufacturing company. One evening, while walking through the factory with his grandson, the little boy asked, "Grandpa, whose factory is this?" The grandfather proudly replied, "This is ours." A retired employee who happened to overhear the conversation, he smiled gently and said, "Sir, may I say something?" The owner said, "Of course." He said, "When I joined this company 40 years ago, another owner proudly said exactly the same words what you are saying now, that ours, this factory is ours. Before him, it belonged to his father. One day, it belonged to someone else." The entrepreneur remained silent. That night, he reflected deeply. He realized that throughout his life, he had spoken about ownership, whereas the truth was stewardship. From then onward, he began treating his wealth as a trust from God. He increased scholarship for needy students, improved employee welfare, and supported rural schools. Years later, he would often say, "We come into this world with empty hands and leave with empty hands. The only thing that truly belongs to us is the love we give and the character we build." This is the wisdom Krishna imparts us in this shloka. So reflect on these questions now. Do I see myself as an owner or as a caretaker of God's gifts? Shri Indra Manbuddhya is gifts. Which temporary things am I holding too tightly? How does remembering God as the source of everything change my attitude towards success? Do I express gratitude often enough to God and to my family? What one attachment can I transform into loving stewardship? So practice for this week. Each morning, choose one blessing in your life. A family member, your home, your health, your profession, or even a simple meal. Pause for a minute and pray, "Lord, this is your gift. Help me to care for it wisely. Use it selflessly and never become attached to it more than I am attached to you." Practice this every day and observe how gratitude gradually replaces anxiety. Next shloka, 7th. Now this shloka is related to 4th and 6th, 4, 5, 6 shloka. In those shlokas, Sri Krishna explained that the material world, that is Apara Prakriti, and the conscious living beings, Para-Prakriti, both originate from him. He further declared that he is the origin, sustainer, and ultimate dissolution of the entire universe. A thoughtful seeker may still wonder, if everything comes from God, what is God's relationship with the universe now? Is he separate from creation, or is he present within it? Shri Krishna answers this profound question in one of the most celebrated shlokas of Bhagavad Gita now. He declares that there is no reality higher than him, and the entire universe is held together by him, just as pearls are strung on a thread. This beautiful metaphor, it reveals both God's transcendence and his immanence. He is beyond creation, yet he lovingly pervades and sustains the creation. The shloka reads, Mattah paradharannanyat kinchid asti dhananjaya mai sarvamidam protam sutre manigana iva. O Dhananjaya, Arjuna, there is nothing whatsoever superior to me. Everything in this universe is strung on me, just as pearls are strung on a thread. Sutre manigana iva. So this shloka is one of the most poetic and profound declarations in Gita. In just 2 lines, Shri Krishna reveals the relationship between God and the universe through an image that every person can understand. Imagine a beautiful pearl necklace. When people admire it, they usually notice only the pearls. Very few notice the thread. Yet what happens if the thread is removed? The pearls scatter in every direction. The thread remains hidden, but it is the unseen support that holds everything together. Krishna says, the universe is like that necklace, and I am the invisible thread. This simple illustration carries extraordinary depth. We see mountains, we see rivers, oceans, stars, galaxies, animals, plants, and human beings. We observe astonishing diversity. They are all pearls, Manigana. Yet behind this divine divinity lies one invisible divine presence, that sutra, that dhaga, that thread that sustains everything. Just as electricity powers countless devices, but without becoming any one device, God empowers every aspect of creation without being limited by any particular form. This shloka also answers one of the humanity's oldest philosophical questions. Is God somewhere else? Krishna's answer is clear. God is not confined to a distant heaven, nor is he merely an abstract philosophical concept. He is the hidden reality within every part of this creation. He creates and he pervades in his own creation. This understanding changes the way we look at life. When we admire a flower, we appreciate not only its beauty, but also the divine artist behind it. When we experience love within family, we recognize it as a reflection of God's love. When we witness acts of compassion or truthfulness, we see glimpses of divine thread working through human hearts. At the same time, Krishna says, there is nothing higher than me. Matta further nanit kinchid asti dhananjaya. This is not a statement of pride from Krishna. It is a statement of ultimate reality. Everything we know it depends on something else. A tree depends on the soil depends on the nature depends upon the cosmic laws. Krishna reveals that he alone is the final foundation beyond which nothing else exists. It doesn't depend on anybody. Everything depends on him. This understanding has profound practical value for us. Many people make temporary things at the center of their lives. Some revolve around money, others revolve around social status, some revolve around family expectations. They are all important aspects of life, but they are not stable enough to become the foundation of our happiness. When money decreases, anxiety increases. When reputation is damaged, peace disappears. When expectations are not fulfilled, relationships suffer. Shri Krishna invites us to anchor our lives in something unchanging. When God becomes the central thread of life, every other relationship becomes more balanced. Parents love their children without excessive possessiveness. Children respect their parents without fear. Professionals work with excellence without becoming slaves to success. And prosperity becomes an opportunity for service rather than a cause of arrogance. This shloka also beautifully explains unity in diversity. Just as pearls may differ in size, in color, in shape, but remain united in one single thread, humanity may differ in language, religion, nationality, profession, or culture. Yet, every individual is by the same divine presence. Recognizing this truth naturally gives rise to respect, compassion, and harmony. The more deeply we understand this shloka, the more difficult it becomes to hate another person. We are all born in the same sutra. Because we realize that the same divine thread runs through every heart. A music conductor was leading a world famous orchestra. There were violinists, flute player, pianist, percussionist, and dozens of other musicians from different countries. Each instrument produced a unique sound. A young student watching the performance, he asked, "Who is making the music?" The teacher replied, "Every musician is playing, but the conductor is bringing them into harmony." After the concert, the conductor said, "If every musician tried to play independently, there would only be noise. Harmony exists because everyone follows one unseen center." The teacher smiled and told his student, "Life is very similar to this. Families, societies, nations consist of different people with different talents. When everyone lives only for themselves, conflict increases. When everyone remembers the divine conductor, harmony naturally arises." The student never forgot this lesson in his life. Years later, he became the head of a large organization and often reminded his employees, "We may perform different roles, but we all serve one higher purpose." So reflect on these questions. What is the central thread holding my life together? Is my wealth, my position, if it changes tomorrow, would my inner peace remain the same? Do I consciously see God in the people I meet every day? Is my family united by common spiritual values or only by shared responsibilities? How can I make God a more visible presence in my daily life? So practice this week. Choose one ordinary activity every day, each day of the week. Sharing a meal is one activity. Driving to work, helping a family member, or speaking to a colleague. Before beginning, pause for a few seconds and silently say, "Lord, you are the unseen thread connecting us all. May my thoughts, my words, and my actions strengthen that bond." Observe how this simple remembrance changes your attitude throughout the day. Next shloka. Now this shloka is connected to seventh shloka, what we concluded just now. Seventh shloka, Lord Krishna declared, "Everything is strung on me like pearls on a thread. Sutre manigana iva." Every sincere seeker may then immediately ask, if God is present everywhere, why don't I experience him? Krishna now begins to answer this practical question. Instead of asking Arjuna to search for God in distant places, he points to the ordinary experiences of life, daily life. He teaches that divine can be experienced through the taste of water, the light of sun and moon, and the sacred syllable Om, sound in space, and the strength and nobility of human beings. From this shloka onwards, Shri Krishna transforms the entire universe into a living temple. He teaches us not merely to believe in God, but to recognize God in everyday life. The shloka reads, Rasohamapsu kaunteya prabhasmishasu suryoho pranavasvara vedeshu shabdakhe paurushandrushu. O Kaunteya, Kuntiputra Arjuna, I am the test in water. Rasohamapsu. I am the radiance of the moon and sun. Prabhasmisha suryoho. I am the sacred syllable Om in all Vedas. Pranavasvara vedeshu. I am the sound in the space. Shabdakhe. And I am the Paurushandrushu, the nobility, strength and excellence in human beings. This shloka marks a beautiful change in Krishna's teaching now. Until now, he has explained profound philosophical truth about creation, consciousness, and the nature of reality. Now he brings this spirituality into ordinary daily experiences. How to experience that consciousness, supreme consciousness in our daily life? He begins with something everyone being understands. I am the test in the water. In the hot summer, when you come home and have a glass of water, how do you feel? God says, that is me. Why does Krishna begin with water? Because no living being can survive without water. Water refreshes, it nourishes, it purifies, and it sustains the life. When we drink water after intense thirst, the satisfaction we experience is not merely physical. Krishna says that refreshing essence, that life-giving quality is my presence. Rasohamapsu. Imagine how this changes our perspective. Instead of taking a glass of water for granted, it becomes an opportunity for gratitude. We are experiencing the God in that water. Every sip silently reminds us, God is sustaining my life at this very moment. Rasohamapsu. Krishna then says, I am the radiance of sun and moon. Prabhasmisha suryoho. The sun represents energy, activity, clarity, and life. Without sunlight, the life on earth would not exist. The moon represents coolness, beauty, calmness, and emotional balance. Both are essential. This teaches us an important lesson. God is present not only in extraordinary miracles, but also in the natural laws that govern the universe every day. Every sunrise is a silent sermon. Every moonlight night is an expression of divine beauty. Krishna continues, I am Om in all Vedas. The syllable Om is regarded as the primordial sound from which all creations emerges. Om, creation, maintenance, and dissolution. It represents the unity of the individual soul with the supreme reality. Whenever we chant Om with awareness, we align our mind with the eternal rhythm of the universe. Next, Krishna says, I am the sound in space. Yet, without space, sound cannot travel. Similarly, God's presence is often invisible but indispensable. Just as we cannot see the sound itself but experience its effect. We may not see God with our physical eyes, yet we experience His presence through order, through beauty, through love, through truth, and the life itself. Finally, Krishna says, I am Paurusham in human beings. This word deserves careful understanding. It does not merely mean physical masculinity or muscular strength, Paurush. It refers to noble courage, righteous efforts, moral existence, determination, dhriti, and the capacity to rise above selfishness. That is Paurusham. When a doctor serves patients tirelessly, a teacher shapes young minds with dedication, a soldier protects the nation with integrity, a parent sacrifices personal comfort for his family, or an ordinary citizen speaks the truth despite personal loss, Krishna says, that noble strength is my manifestation. Paurushandrushu. This slok therefore transforms the way we see the world. Spirituality is no longer confined to temples or the places of pilgrimage. The divine becomes visible in nature, in noble human actions, and in simplest experiences of daily life. For family life, this teaching is revolutionary, I would say. Children learn spirituality not only by visiting temples, but by seeing gratitude before meals, honesty in business, kindness towards neighbors, respect for nature, and integrity in difficult situations. When parents live these values, every home becomes a place of worship. This is called sanskar. Krishna is teaching us to cultivate divine awareness. The purpose is not merely to remember God during prayer, but to recognize Him throughout the day. When His awareness grows, ordinary life becomes extraordinary. Every sunrise becomes a blessing. Every glass of water becomes grace of God. Every act of courage becomes His worship. Every noble deed becomes an expression of God. A 12-year-old boy accompanied his grandfather on an early morning walk. As the sun rose, the grandfather stopped quietly. The boy asked, "Why did you stop?" The grandfather smiled. "I wanted to thank God." The boy looked puzzled. "We are not in a temple. Why are you thanking God?" The old man replied, "Who built this temple?" He pointed towards the rising sun. "Did you create that light?" "No." He pointed to the cool breeze. "Did you make that?" "No." He picked up a handful of water from a nearby stream. "Can you create even one drop of water?" The boy shook his head. The grandfather said, "Then every morning, before asking God for anything, thank Him for what He has already given." Years later, the boy became a successful environmental scientist. Whenever he addressed students, he would begin with the words, "The greatest lesson my grandfather taught me was that science explains how nature works. Gratitude teaches us why it is sacred." So reflect on these questions. How often do I thank God for ordinary blessings? Have you ever thanked God for sunlight? Have you thanked God for the rain? Do I notice the beauty of nature or taking it for granted? What does true strength mean in my daily life? Can I recognize God's presence in ordinary experiences? And which quality mentioned in this shloka inspires me the most? So practice this week. Every day of this week, pause 5 times during ordinary activities and silently remember the shloka. For example, while drinking water, remember, "Lord, you are the test in this water." Rasohamapsu. At sunrise or sunset, remember, your light illuminates the world. Prabhaspesha Suryoho. Before chanting or praying, Om is your eternal sound. Prano Sarvedeshu. When witnessing an act of courage or kindness, remember, your noble strength is shining through this person. Paurushandrushu. Keep a small journal and note how this practice changes your awareness. Next shloka. Now this shloka is connected to 8th shloka that we have just concluded. In 8th shloka, Shri Bhagavan began revealing his presence in the ordinary experiences, like drinking water. He said, "I am the test in water, the radiance of the sun and moon, the sacred syllable Om, the sound in space, and the nobility in human beings." Krishna now continues his teaching with beautiful meditation. He points to other manifestations of his divine presence, not in extraordinary miracles, but in the fragrance of the earth after rain, the warmth of fire, the life force in all living beings, and the spirit of austerity in every sincere seeker. These examples teach us that God is not merely to be worshipped in temples, He is to be discovered in every aspect of life and nature. Spirituality begins when we learn to see extraordinary hidden within the ordinary. What is extraordinary? He is hidden in the ordinary life. The shloka says, "Punyagandha pratibhyancha tejascha asmi vibhavasau jivanam sarvabhuteshu tapascha asmi tapasvishu." Punyagandha pratibhyancha. I am the pure fragrance of the earth, the brilliance of fire, Tejas Shasmi Bhavasum, the life in all living beings, Jivanam Sarvabhuteshu, and the spirit of austerity in those who practice self-discipline. Tapaschasmi Tapasviyu. So this shloka continues Shri Krishna's extraordinary teaching that entire universe is a living revelation of God. He begins with a simple yet deeply moving image. I am the fragrance, pure fragrance of the earth. Almost everyone has experienced the delightful fragrance of the soil after the first rainfall. For a farmer, it is a sign of hope. For a child, it evokes joy. For a poet, it inspires beauty. Krishna says this pure fragrance is one of his manifestations. Notice the word punya, pure. The Lord does not identify himself with pollution or with impurity, but with the original purity inherent in the nature. This reminds us that creation in its essential form is sacred. When we respect the earth, protect forests, conserve water, and preserve the environment, we are not merely performing ecological duties, we are honoring God's creation. Krishna then says, I am the brilliance of fire. Fire has always symbolized transformation. It cooks food, provides warmth, gives light, and purifies. In Vedic tradition, fire is also the medium through which offerings are made to God, as we do in Yajna. Shri Krishna is not referring merely to physical flames. He also refers to inner fire that transforms ignorance into wisdom. Jnanagni. The enthusiasm of a student to learn, the determination of a scientist to discover the truth, the dedication of a doctor to serve patients, and the zeal of a devotee engaged in selfless service all reflect the divine energy working throughout human beings. The next declaration is perhaps the most profound in this shloka. I am the life in all living beings. What distinguishes a living tree from a fallen log? What makes a newborn child smile? What enables a bird to sing or a flower to bloom? Krishna says that mysterious life force is my presence. This single statement has immense ethical implications. If the same divine exists in every creature, then compassion is not merely a moral virtue, it is recognition of spiritual truth. Cruelty becomes ignorance because it fails to recognize God's presence in another being. That is why Gita encourages kindness towards all life. Whether we care for elderly parents, feed a hungry animal, protect a tree, or comfort a distressed friend, we are serving the divine present within them. Finally, Krishna says, I am tapasvishu. Tapas is often misunderstood as severe physical hardship. In Gita, tapas means self-discipline undertaken for purification and spiritual growth. A student who resists distraction to prepare honestly for examination is practicing a tapa. Parents who sacrifice personal comforts to educate their children, they are practicing a tapa. A professional who refuses corruption despite financial temptation is practicing a tapa. A patient recovering from illness with courage and discipline is also practicing a tapa. A devotee who wakes up early in the morning for prayer, even when it is difficult to wake up in the cold winter, he is also practicing a tapa. True tapa is not self-torture. It is the joyful discipline that enables us to become the best version of ourselves. For family life, this shloka offers a powerful message. Children often imitate what they observe more than what they are told. If parents demonstrate discipline, honesty, environmental responsibility, compassion, gratitude, these virtues naturally become part of the family culture. Spirituality is therefore not confined to festivals or to rituals only. It has to be shown in everyday act. It is reflected in the way we treat nature, perform our duties, and care for every living being. Shri Krishna gently teaches that God is present wherever there is purity, there is life, there is energy, and sincere self-discipline. An elderly school principal, he visited his former students who had become successful industrialists. The businessman proudly showed him a massive factory equipped with latest technology. After the hour, the principal asked, "Do you know what impressed me the most?" The businessman expected praise for his machinery. Instead, the principal pointed towards a small garden maintained by the employees. Every morning, workers watered the plant before working. The principal smiled and said, "A company that respects life will also respect people." The businessman later admitted that the garden had been started by an old security guard who believed that caring for plants reminded everyone to care for one another. Inspired by this, the company introduced environmental initiatives, employee wellness programs, and ethical leadership training. Profits continued to grow, but something even more valuable developed, a culture of respect. The industrialist often remarked, "I once believed success came from machines. Now I know it also comes from values." So reflect on questions. Do I consciously appreciate the beauty and purity of nature? In what ways can I show greater respect for all living beings? Which areas of my life require more self-discipline? Does my daily routine reflect spiritual values? Am I becoming more compassionate as my understanding of Gita grows? And practice for this week. Choose one act of tapa to practice every day for next 7 days. For example, wake up 15 minutes earlier for prayer or meditation. Tapa. Speak kindly even when irritated. Tapa. Avoid unnecessary complaints. Tapa. Reduce food wastage. It is also a tapa. Perform one act of kindness without expecting appreciation is also a tapa. Spend 10 minutes in silent gratitude for the gift of life is also a tapa. At the end of the week, reflect on how this discipline influenced your mind and your relationships. Next sloka. After this, maybe we will stop. Now, this sloka is connected to the earlier sloka, 8 and 9. His 8 and 9 sloka, Shri Krishna taught Arjuna to recognize his divine presence in the taste of water, Rosso Hum Sukhanteya, Prabhasmi Suryo, the light of sun and moon, the fragrance of the earth, Punyogandha Prithivancha, the brilliance of fire, the life force in all beings, and the spirit of austerity. Now Shri Krishna goes one step further. He shifts our attention from outer world of nature to the inner qualities of living beings. He reveals that the seed of all existence, intelligence, brilliance, creativity, and noble achievements are all expressions of the divine. This sloka teaches us one of the most important principles for a family person. Every talent in God is God's gift. Our responsibility is to use it for God's purpose. The sloka says, Bijamam sarvabhutanam vidyapartha sanatanam Vadravadyamadamasmi tejasvinamaham. Arjuna, know me to be the eternal seed of all living beings. Bijamam sarvabhutanam. I am the intelligence of the intelligent, Vadravadyamadamasmi, and I am the brilliance of the brilliant. Tejasvinamaham and Vadravadyamadamasmi. So this sloka contains one of the most profound statements in Gita. Krishna says, he begins by saying, know me as the eternal seed of all beings. Bijamam sarvabhutanam. This is a very famous statement of Gita. Every tree begins with a tiny seed. Within that seed, lies an invisible blueprint of that long brick tree. The branches, the flowers, the fruits, the fragrance, the shade, and even the future generation of trees exist the potential form within that small seed, something so small that it can easily be overlooked. When you look at a seed, do you imagine all these things that it will grow from this? It will have branches and flowers and fragrance and fruits and shade and everything, and it will give birth to future generations of the tree. Krishna uses this universal truth to explain the divine. He is not merely a creator who made the universe long ago. He is the eternal seed from whom all existence continually arise. Everything from smallest microsm to the largest galaxy owes its existence to Krishna. This teaching has a profound implication for us. When we look at a seed, we do not merely see what it is today. We see what it can become. We understand it from this shloka, what it can become. Likewise, when God looks at a human being, he sees not merely the present personality, but the immense spiritual potential hidden within. As of today, we are normal human beings, but we have great potential of attaining moksha, attaining God. God sees that possibility in us. This should also influence the way we treat people. Parents should not define the children by their current weaknesses. Teachers should not judge students solely by examination results. Employers should not evaluate employees only by present performance. Every individual carries a divine seed capable of extraordinary growth. One of the greatest responsibilities of family life is to help that seed blossom. Krishna then says, I am the intelligence of the intelligent. Buddhir buddhimatamasmi. Notice that he does not claim ownership of the information. He speaks of buddhi. In Gita, buddhi means much more than intellectual ability. It is the power to discriminate between right and wrong, between permanent and temporary, selfishness and selflessness, appearance and reality. A person may possess brilliant memory, yet may lack wisdom. Another may have modest academic qualifications, but consistently make wise decisions. The first possesses information, the second possesses buddhi. Here Krishna says that whenever true wisdom shines, it is his presence expressing itself. This understanding removes the arrogance. If intelligence is God's gift, then success should inspire gratitude rather than pride. Similarly, Krishna declares, I am the brilliance of the brilliant. The Sanskrit word tejas is rich with meaning. It includes moral courage. Tej means spiritual radiance. Tej means excellence. Tej means enthusiasm. Tej means leadership. Tej means integrity. Tej means inspiring character. All this is Tej. Tej is not loudness. It is quiet strength. It is the calm confidence of a surgeon during a difficult operation. That is Tej. It is the unwavering honesty of a judge who refuses corruption. It is the dedication of a teacher who continues serving despite limited recognition. It is the courage of a parent who makes personal sacrifices for family's well-being. Such brilliance is not produced by ego. It is an expression of the divine working through a purified personality. This shloka therefore teaches a powerful lessons for the modern society. Today, talent is more celebrated, but humility is neglected. The Gita unites the two. The more gifted a person becomes, the more grateful he or she could become. Talent without humility produces pride. Pride puts you under bondage. Talent with devotion becomes service. Krishna is not asking us to suppress our abilities. He wants us to work on them for the welfare of others. A musician can glorify God through music. A scientist can glorify God through honest research. A business leader can glorify God through ethical leadership. A homemaker can glorify God by creating an atmosphere of love and values. Every talent becomes sacred when it is offered back to its divine source. A young violinist, he won the highest award in an international music competition. Reporters, they asked him, "What is the secret of your success?" They expected him to speak about years of practice. Instead, he said, "My teacher taught me something I will never forget." Oh, what was it? Every time you step on the stage, remember that music is God's gift. Your duty is not to show how talented you are. Your duty is to ensure that people leave the hall feeling happier, more peaceful, and closer to something beautiful. Years later, despite becoming world famous, the musician still bowed his head before every performance and silently prayed, "Lord, may this gift never become my ego." People admired not only his extraordinary music, but also his humility. His greatness lay not merely in his skill, but in remembering the source from which that skill had come. So reflect on these questions. Which talent has God entrusted to me? Do I use my abilities for personal glory or for the welfare of others? Has success made me more humble and more proud? Do I recognize the divine potential in my children and my family members? How can I transform one of my skills into an offering to God? So practice this week. Identify one talent that God has given you. It may be teaching, it may be listening, it may be cooking, it may be organizing, it could be writing, it could be singing or mentoring or any professional expertise. This week, use that talent once purely for selfless service without expecting appreciation or reward. Before beginning, silently pray, "Lord, this gift came from you. May it become an instrument of your compassion." At the end of the week, reflect on how offering your talent change your attitude towards work and towards relationship. So in the context of these shlokas, what we have studied so far, we need to find an answer to the questions as to who runs this universe and how to discover God's supreme power. So who runs the universe? First 10 shlokas of this adhyaya, what we have studied, completed just now, Jnana Vijnana Yoga, they invite us to discover a profound truth. The entire universe operates under the supreme power of divine. Shri Krishna explains to Arjuna not merely what God is, but how God is present behind everything we see, everything we experience, and everything depend upon. Shri Krishna begins by promising that if Arjuna's mind is devoted to him and takes refuge in him, he can know him completely. This is important because knowing God is not merely collecting information. It is developing a deep understanding through knowledge, through devotion, and through experience. Shri Krishna then describes his two forms of nature, para and apara. The first is his material nature, earth, water, fire, air, space, mind, intellect, ego, Ashtada Prakriti. That is the apara Prakriti. Everything in the physical universe is made from these elements. But there is something even greater, the living consciousness that gives life to these material elements. Thus, the body may be made of matter, but what makes it alive is the divine principle within that body. Shri Krishna gives a wonderful example. Just as the pearls are held together by a hidden thread, the entire universe is held together by God. Even though we may not see him, we see the pearls, but not the thread connecting them. Similarly, we see planets, stars, plants, animals, and human beings, but the divine power sustaining them remains invisible for us. This gives us a fascinating answer to this question: who runs the universe? We may think that nature functions automatically, but science explains everything. We may believe that science explains everything, or that human beings control their destiny, yet behind the laws of nature and the remarkable order of creation, Krishna reveals the presence of supreme reality. He runs the universe. Think of a smartphone. We all can see its screen, the buttons, the applications, But without the invisible software and electrical energy, it cannot function. Similarly, the universe has visible matter and invisible forces. Krishna points us towards the supreme consciousness that sustains and energizes all existence. So the first 10 slokas therefore encourage us to look beyond visible world. God is not merely somewhere far away in the heaven. His presence can be discovered in water, rasohapsu, in sunlight, pravashasuryo, intelligence, strength, sound, life, and every aspect of creation. The great discovery is this: the universe is not running randomly. Behind its astonishing diversity and order is the supreme power, Shri Krishna. The source, the support, and the essence of all that exists is Shri Krishna. I think we can stop here. Jai Shri Krishna to all. Now the forum is open for you to raise your questions. Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna Bhaiya. I
Jai Shri
extend
Krishna.
my heartfelt gratitude to respected Bhaiya for the wonderful and thought-provoking session. Your presentation was enlightening and the insights imparted were of great and profound knowledge. Thank you so much, Bhaiya. Now is the time for the question answer session. Those who have questions, kindly raise your hands and open your video so that we can take your questions. Yes. Jai Shri Krishna Kailash Chand Bhaiya. Please unmute yourself. Yes, Bhaiya. You can ask your question.
जय श्री कृष्ण भैया जी।
जय श्री कृष्ण कैलाश जी।
भैया जी, ये जो मैं ये चौथे और पांचवें श्लोक में जो परा और अपरा ये जो दो शब्द आए हैं
जी,
इनका इन दोनों शब्दों का जो शब्दार्थ समझना चाह रहा था कि इन दोनों शब्दों का लिटरल मीनिंग क्या है। व्हाट इज द लिटरल मीनिंग ऑफ परा?
Param is param, Shrestha. Aparam is which is not Shrestha. So this is the inferior Prakriti of Paramatma. The
परा
material energy.
मीन्स
Param Shrestha. Sarvottam is para. Param. Para Shabda comes from param. Shrestha. Excellent. And apara is opposite of that.
जी
This is not
श्लोक का भगवान says that those 8 things which he has mentioned, they are the material energies, material prakriti.
Yes.
So basically my question is that the first 5, those panchabhut we know, those are physical elements, but
Yes.
but the next 3,
Yeah.
man, buddhi, ahankar,
Yeah.
these 3 are not physical things, they are not visible. So
See, what
we are
is
calling,
man?
how come
I
we are
agree with you.
material things?
But our life consists of non-material things also. Our emotions is also part of our life. No? So those things which are not visible but can also make a part of our life, like man, for example, it controls the way we work, isn't it? Buddhi, it controls the mind.
They are part
Mind
of the life.
controls the senses.
No doubt that they are part of the life, but they are not material. How can we describe them as material things?
Material things, because see, sometimes when thinking and processing is taking place in mind, that mind decides what the Prakriti will work, what the material energy will come into action. Like our body is inert. Okay, body is inert, but in body is hidden our mind. When the Chetana from this body goes off, does the mind remain active? No, mind also goes off. So mind is a part of this inert body. That's why it is coming under the Prakriti. It is a gift of Prakriti, which itself is inert, without Chetana. Prakriti is without Chetana. It is the Chetana from the God, that and only component that is in our body, which is a fragment of God, is our Chetana, our Atma, our soul. Rest everything is inert. And this inert body works based on Man, Buddhi, and Aham. So Man is it receives the sensory information. It generates the thoughts. It starts imagining. It feels the emotions. It decides what are the likes and dislikes. It has some doubts also. It considers alternatives also. Say, for example, you see a piece of chocolate. Your eyes provide the information about chocolate. Then the mind says, that looks delicious. Should I eat it? Another thought arises, I should not. I am trying to control my diet. I have a sugar problem. Then another thought comes, but just one piece won't matter much. This internal back and forth of characteristic is the characteristics of mind. Think of mind as the box of your mind. Messages arrive continuously in that box through our eyes, through our ears, through smell, through taste, through touch, and through memories. The mind processes all these inputs in that box and it produces thoughts, it produces feelings, and it produces options. Then what is the role of buddhi? Buddhi is the faculty of discrimination. What is right and wrong? The reasoning, the judgment, the decision making is done by buddhi, understanding and determining what is right and wrong. If the mind asks, should I eat this chocolate? The buddhi evaluates that and it will say, I have already eaten enough today. My long-term goal is more important than this temporary craving for a single piece of chocolate. So man, it considers and buddhi, it decides. This distinction is important in understanding Gita also. Suppose someone receives an angry WhatsApp message. Man says, I am furious. I should reply to this bloody message immediately. Buddhi says, wait. If I respond with, well, when I'm angry, I may make the situation even worse. So the man says, but I want to answer it right now. Buddhi will say, let us wait till tomorrow. This ability to pause, to evaluate, to choose wisely is called buddhi. And then comes ahankar. This word is often misunderstood. Ahankar literally comes from aham is I and kara is making. So ahankara means I maker. The one which makes I, that is ahankar. The mechanism that creates the sense, I am this is mine, I am the doer, that is ahankar. So it creates our identification with our body, our possessions, our profession, our status, our opinions, our achievements, our relationships. For example, one may say, I am a doctor, or I am successful, or this is my house, or this is my opinion, which is correct. This identification expression is called ahankar, aham. So man, buddhi and aham. Now all these three work together, man, buddhi and ahankar. Imagine that someone criticizes you publicly. The man receives the emotional impact, the insult. It says, I don't like what he said. Ahankar will say, ahankar will take it personally. He insulted me, he will say. Ahankar will say, he has insulted me. That me comes from ahankar. Man will say, man will produce the anger then. I should give a fitting reply. But buddhi will intervene. Is replying necessary? What would be the wise response?
Well,
If
see,
buddhi,
my doubt was that this man, buddhi, and ahankar, these three things, they also become. Do they also become active only when the para shakti uh,
yeah, of course, of
uh,
course,
is given?
yeah, 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 yeah. Unless para prakriti is holding the apara prakriti, man, buddhi, and ahankar are all dead.
They are
A
also.
dead body does not. No, a dead body does not have man, buddhi, and ahankar. So it is an inert part of the body. That is why it is coming under material. Because prakriti itself is material. Ashtadha prakriti itself is material.
You are saying that man, buddhi, ahankar, in the
Yeah.
absence of that para shakti, they are also
Hmm.
dead. They are also dead.
Yeah, they are also dead. They are also dead.
You see, in the 15th chapter, Bhagavan
Hmm.
says that when the Atma leaves the body, then
Hmm.
this one buddhi, ahankar are also taken away. Just
No,
like
no, 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 no.
it's
No, no. Man buddhi ahankar is not taken away. The samskars created by man buddhi ahankar, those samskars are taken away. Whether they are sattvic, rajasic, or tamasic, those samskars are taken away. Not physically the man buddhi ahankar. The soul carries the baggage of only samskars. Yeah, Atma is para. Atma is the only para in our body. Rest every part of our body, our Shri, Indriya, Man, Buddhi are all apara. And our Atma is holding the apara prakriti. Like Paramatma has said in the fifth sloka, that this para prakriti is holding the apara prakriti, the Hariyati Jagat. So our soul is holding this body.
only sanskars are taken away. So that means sanskars are different
Yes.
from the man, buddhi, and ahankar. They are.
Yeah. Yes. The way our mind has thought, the way buddhi has thought, and the way our senses have worked, that creates the sanskars. And those sanskars, they fall in three baggages in our soul. That is a sattvic baggage, a rajasic baggage, and a tamasic baggage. The soul goes with three baggages for the further journey after leaving this body. And those three baggages, they decide what kind of species or what kind of yoni we'll get in the next life.
But these three things are, we can't see these things. They are not physically visible, sir. They are not.
Yeah, they are not physically visible, but unless they are there in the body cannot function. Without man, buddhi, and ahankar, the body cannot function because they are part of inert body and they are gift from prakriti, not from Paramatma. See, there are two things: Purush and Prakriti. Purush itself is Purush is the Chetana that gives that soul, which we say in 15th Adhyay, Mamai Mamsha Jivaloke, or Sarvasya Amritan Nevesto. All this. That soul is the only fragment which comes to us from God. Rest everything comes from the temporary Prakriti. That is why that is inert. That is why man buddhi ahankar, which keeps on changing and ultimately they become dead also. So everything that goes through change is apara. Something which never changes is para. Soul never changes. It was there with us before getting this body. It is there with us today when the body is there, and it will continue to remain with us when the body ceases to exist after a few years. So that's something which never changes is para, and which keeps on changing every now and then. The man changes, the buddhi changes, isn't it? The Rahul changes. So everything that keeps on changing, is the apara prakriti, and that apara which keeps on changing is being held by the para prakriti. Without para prakriti, apara prakriti cannot function.
Thank you.
Jai Shri. Jai Shri.
Jai Shri Krishna ji, here, please ask your question.
Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai Shri.
That was Badya. It's very well explained. Thank you for that. I have one question. You said, now somebody put in a comment, the soul is para. Okay. And we said consciousness is also para, prakriti.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Now, we know that there is only one Purusha and Prakriti. So if consciousness is Prakriti and soul is also Para and consciousness is Para, why not soul is equal to consciousness? Is there any difference in that between these two things?
Conscious is a fragment of Paramatma, and that is para, not apara. Apara is all these only 8 things. Bhumirapo, Nalo, Vayu, Kham, Mano, Buddhi, Revacha, Aham. These 8 things, they constitute apara prakriti. Rest everything, whether you call it soul, Paramatma, consciousness, is all para prakriti. So that consciousness is not part of apara prakriti, it is a part of para prakriti. Our soul is conscious, so it is a part of para prakriti, not apara prakriti.
The soul is not Purusha. That is what you are saying. Because Paramatma is Purusha. Atma is not Purusha.
Yeah. Purush is para prakriti. Purush is God only. Purush and Prakriti, they create this entire cosmos. Purush, Bijamam Sarvabhutanam. Whose bij is that? It is the bij of that Purush. And where it puts it? He puts it in the Prakriti. So Purush is the bij, Bijamam Sarvabhutanam. And where he puts that seed is in the material energy, is in the Prakriti. And through combination of both these, Purush and Prakriti, the cosmos gets formed. All the species get formed because of Purush and Prakriti coming together. Prakriti is inert without Purush. Purush produces Chetana in Prakriti, and that is why Prakriti starts working. Our body is a gift of Prakriti, and our body starts working when that fragment of Purush, which he has put seed in the Prakriti, a part of it comes in our body, which is earlier inert, apara. When that Chetana comes as a seed of Paramatma in our body, then our body starts functioning. The senses start working. The mind starts working. The buddhi starts applying its logic. So this is an indication of consciousness in us. which is para
But
prakriti, not apara.
Paramatma is Purusha. Is that
Yeah, Paramatma is
okay?
Purush. Yes, yes, Paramatma is Purush, which is
And,
para prakriti.
and we are spark of that Paramatma in every
Yeah,
human.
but only our soul is part of that. Our soul is part of Paramatma, that is para prakriti. But as God has said in earlier shloka, that para prakriti is holding the apara prakriti, and that's why this entire universe has been formed. Similarly, our life comes into existence because this para prakriti. See, soul is without any body, isn't it?
Right.
When the soul gets body, then it gets manifested. One soul may get a body of human being, another soul may get a body of a donkey or a horse or a dog. So that is the manifestation of soul. Without body, the soul cannot exist. It exists, but it cannot get manifested. So body is only the manifestation of the soul, and depending upon his karmas, he gets the appropriate body according to the Prakriti's rules, nature's rules.
I thought the Bija means it's Purusha.
Yeah, Bija is
When
Purusha. That is perfect. That is
Bija
perfectly
and,
correct. Bija is
and
Purusha.
Atma is like that Bija which goes into the Prakriti to make it conscious. Is that?
Yes, exactly. See, that is what I said. Purush, Bijamam Sarvbhutanam. The Purush puts the seed in the Prakriti. Prakriti gives us the body, mind, intellect, and that seed what God has given to us that comes into our body as a soul. Prakriti decides based on our past karmas that soul should be awarded what kind of body, what kind of mind, what kind of intellect. So based
Yeah,
on our
that
past
is understood.
karmas, as I said, yeah.
Yeah, that is understood. But I'm talking about consciousness. Consciousness is para. It's said. So
Consciousness is para. Consciousness is
but
para.
man, buddhi, ahankar, that is prakriti. That I understood. But consciousness, we
It's
said
para.
we talk of universal consciousness, and that is God.
Yeah.
We say universal
Yes,
consciousness.
that is para.
So how
That is
come
para.
this consciousness is considered as prakriti? That is my question. It
No,
should be
consciousness is not
purush.
prakriti.
It should be
No,
purush.
no. Consciousness is not prakriti. Consciousness is purush, is para. Consciousness is not prakriti.
But here it is called para prakriti.
It is para prakriti. Consciousness is para.
But prakriti is not nature. Means I thought
Prakriti is this nature. Prakriti is the nature. Whatever you see here as visible to your eyes is all material energy of God. Whatever you cannot see, like the soul you cannot see, the consciousness you cannot see, is a part of para prakriti. Everything visible that vanishes, it goes under changes every now and then. All segments of prakriti go under changes. All ashtadha prakriti that we discussed, bhumira bandhulovaya kamanamudiravecha aham, all they undergo under changes. They are temporary. Even prakriti itself is temporary. This whole cosmos gets dissolved. At the end of Yuga, everything goes. That something which does not go, which does not vanish, which does not get destroyed, which is imperishable, is our soul and Paramatma. Atma and Paramatma are the only para prakriti, prakriti of God. Only apara prakriti goes into dissolution, not the para prakriti.
so. You are saying that universal consciousness also dissolves during pralaya.
No. Universal consciousness is a part of para prakriti. That doesn't get dissolved. Consciousness and Paramatma is one and the same thing. You call it Paramatma, you call it superpower, you call it anything, that consciousness which is there in every individual as a fragment of God, and Purush, Paramatma, consciousness, these are alternatives of the same divine source.
But you said consciousness also dissolves. That is what I'm saying. Universal consciousness is.
Consciousness does not dissolve. Consciousness is a para prakriti that never gets dissolved. Consciousness remains. What
You
gets
said
dissolved is this material energy, this material prakriti that gets dissolved. This ashtadha prakriti is temporary. Consciousness, purush, soul, paramatma, these are all part of para prakriti. They never get dissolved.
Is it
They are
para
eternal.
pravritti or prakriti?
Prakriti. See,
Prakriti.
they are all both are prakritis of Paramatma only. Paramatma has given distinction between his para and apara. Apara he decides to dissolve it after the yuga is coming to an end, and para he reserves it for producing Chetana in that Prakriti which he has dissolved, but he wants to reincarnate that at the beginning of next Yuga. In 8th Adhyaya we learn this, that when the Yuga starts, this dead Prakriti is again starts getting Chetana because Paramatma's Para Prakriti is intact. That is something which never goes out of order. It never perishes. So that Para Prakriti, it creates the Chetana in this Jad Prakriti when the new Yuga starts.
Now, my confusion is when you say it never dissolves, that it is permanent. So it should be part of Purusha. That is what my thing. How come the Prakriti and Purusha both are?
Consciousness, Purush, Paramatma, soul, these are the only Para Prakriti. You call it in different names. Atma we call it because at individual level, we say this is Atma. Paramatma is global.
Right.
Every living being has a fragment of that Paramatma. So that is called Atma. But of course, we are also a fragment of Paramatma only. Unfortunately, we don't recognize it, but we are also part of Paramatma, which is Para Prakriti. Our body, senses, mind, intellect, this is Apara Prakriti.
When still my confusion is not gone, because when you say Para Prakriti, Prakriti never dissolves. It dissolves, you said.
No. See, Prakriti has two connotations. Prakriti has two connotations. One is the Apara Prakriti, another is Para Prakriti. When something that goes into dissolution is the Apara Prakriti. Something that does not go into dissolution is the Para Prakriti. So we should not say that Prakriti never goes into dissolution. Apara Prakriti goes into dissolution. Para Prakriti never goes into dissolution.
Yeah, so conscious never goes into dissolution.
Yeah, conscious never goes.
But conscious is Prakriti. That is what you are saying.
Conscious is Purush, which is Paramatma. Conscious is Purush, not
but conscious is Para Prakriti. But conscious is Para Prakriti.
Para Prakriti. Conscious
so
Para Prakriti.
It is not Purush. That is what I am saying.
No. Conscious. That is what I am telling you
again
and again. That whether you talk of Purush, whether you talk of Paramatma, whether you talk of Para Prakriti, these are all same. Para Prakriti, Purush, Paramatma, these are all Chetana. They give life to the Apara Prakriti. Apara Prakriti is the one which goes into dissolution. Purush, Paramatma, consciousness never goes under dissolution. They are the Para Prakriti.
That part is clear.
Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Jai Shri Krishna.
Best word.
Any
other questions, please?
Unmute yourself.
Jai Shri Krishna, Bhaiya. And as usual, your explanation was priceless. I always eagerly wait for your this deviation, and every beat, every what you say is like a Amrut Bani, So I get hooked. And just one clarification. I have heard, I have read that God realized persons are having higher consciousness, and there are people, so that means there are people of lower consciousness and there are people of higher consciousness. Those people who are having highest consciousness, they can feel and things which the other people cannot see. That means they are a part of God who can see things in advance. So something like, am I right by saying this?
See, there are different levels of virtuous people. पुण्यवान लोगों की अनेक लेवल होते हैं ना.
Exactly, yes.
Every virtuous person does not attain God.
Okay.
There are different karma phalas. The only one who becomes one with the God is one who becomes gunatit, not bondage by sattva rajatamo. He only can get moksha. If you are living a very virtuous life, even your virtues, your punya karma can also put you under bondage. The rule God has told in Gita is do your sattvic karma and then reduce from your sattvic karma the sense of doership, kartatva abhiman, minus the expectation of return and reward. Then a sattvic person, he becomes a gunatit because he doesn't get bondage. Two things who puts under bondage is our kartatva abhiman, that I am the doer. And second, that puts under bondage is our expectation of karma phala, that I should get this, I should get that. When you relinquish both this sense of doership as well as the expectation of return and reward, then your sattvic karma, it becomes a gunatit karma. And that gunatit karma will lead you to moksha. So,
yeah, so one person who is working for a moksha, he will definitely have higher consciousness than the person who is a normal, regular, not,
Yes.
not trying to have God relation.
Yeah, I agreed. But even your expectation of getting moksha for doing any virtuous karma is also an expectation of return reward, no? You're reading Gita
Okay.
every day, you're reading Manan
Yeah,
Kirtan, talking on Gita, with the expectation that I'll get moksha. Then that also puts you under bondage, because you're expecting something.
Correct.
You
No,
don't
I have
expect that
understood
also.
something. Yeah.
You
So,
do not
no.
expect moksha also. God says don't expect moksha also. It is for me to decide when I'll give you moksha. You keep doing your work selflessly, without expectation of return reward, without a sense of worship. Then leave everything else to me.
So you can get living these gunatit people in the ordinary functions also, without any expectations, without any, you do your duty without any expectation. You do your duty with sama feeling, means samata. When there is a failure or success, you are not perturbed by it. So I think, this, I was trying to reflect when I was working in a company. I used to have so much stress because we are reflecting on the expectation of the results of the boss, what he says. In case I am not able to achieve it. So I think if had I got that Gita at that time and read it, probably my life would have been much easier by now. So thank you very much. Thank you. Anyway, now also time is there. Anything, whatever time is left is also now for Gita.
We should implement these rules of Gita in our remaining life.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Vaidya. You are guiding us and inspiring us like anything. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any other questions, please?
We are done with the questions. Thanks once again, Bhaiya, for the beautiful and the knowledgeable explanations and answers of the questions. It's our challenge to practice and apply all these learnings imparted by you in our daily lives. I would like to thank each and every one of the Gita Sadhakas for attending this session today. We'll meet again in the next week's enlightening session. I also thank the very hardworking, very vigilant technical team for their continuous efforts for making this session a great success. Without their efforts, this session wouldn't have been possible. And now is the time to offer prayer once again in the lotus feet of Shri Krishna. I would like to invite Satya Murthy ji, who's from Chennai. He's educated as a spiritual lectures and he's giving seva as group coordinator, technical assistant in the calling and translation department. And he joined Gita Pariwar in December 25. Welcome, Bhaiya.
Jai Shri Krishna. Yogesham Satchidanandham Vasudevam Vrajapriyam Dharma Samsthapakham Virham Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Shri Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Sarvam Shri Krishna Arpanamastu.
Thank you, Bhaiya, for the beautiful prayer. Now is the time for the Hanuman Chalisa.
श्री गुरु चरण सरोज रज निज मन मुकुर सुधारि बरनउ रघुबर बिमल जसु जो दायक फलचारि बुद्धिहीन तनु जानिके सुमिरौ पवन कुमार बल बुद्धि विद्या देहु मोहि करहु कलेस विकार जय हनुमान ज्ञान गुण सागर जय कपीस तिहु लोक उजागर रामदूत अतुलित बल धामा अंजनी पुत्र पवन सुत नामा महावीर विक्रम बजरंगी कुमति निवार सुमति के संगी कंचन बरन विराज सुबेसा कानन कुंडल कुंचित केसा हाथ वज्र ध्वजा विराजय कांधे मूंज जनेऊ साजय शंकर सुवन केसरी नंदन तेज प्रताप महाजग बंदन विद्यावान गुणी अति चातुर राम काज करिबे को आतुर प्रभु चरित्र सुनिबे को रसिया राम लखन सीता मन बसिया सूक्ष्म रूप धरि सिहि दिखावा विकट रूप धरि लंक जरावा भीम रूप धरि असुर सहारे रामचंद्र के काज सवारे लाय सजीवन लखन जियाए श्री रघुवीर हर्षि उर लाए रघुपति कीन्ही बहुत बड़ाई तुम मम प्रिय भरत ही सम भाई सहस बदन तुम रोज सगावै अस कहि श्रीपति कंठ लगावै सनकादिक ब्रह्मादि मुनीसा नारद सारद सहित अहिसा जम कुबेर दिगपाल जहाते कवि कोविद कहि सके कहाते तुम उपकार सुग्रीव ही कीन्हा राम मिलाय राजपद दीना तुम्हरो मंत्र विभीषण माना लंकेश्वर भय सब जग जाना जुग सहस्र योजन पर भानु लील्यो ताहि मधुर पल जानु प्रभु मुद्रिका मेलि मुख माहि जलधि लांघि गए अचरज नाही दुर्गम काज जगत के जेते सुगम अनुग्रह तुम्हारे तेते राम दुआरे तुम रखवारे होत न आज्ञा बिनु पैसारे सब सुख लहै तुम्हारी सरना तुम रक्षक काहू को डरना आपन तेज समारो आपै तीनों लोक हाकते कापै भूत पिशाच निकट नहीं आवै महावीर जब नाम सुनावै नासै रोग हरै सब पीरा जपत निरंतर हनुमत बीरा संकट ते हनुमान छुड़ावै मन क्रम वचन ध्यान जो लावै सब पर राम तपस्वी राजा जिनके काज सकल तुम साजा और मनोरथ जो कोई लावै सोई अमित जीवन फल पावै चारों जुग प्रताप तुम्हारा है प्रसिद्ध जगत उजियारा साधु संत के तुम रखवारे असुर निकंदन राम दुलारे अष्ट सिद्धि नो निधि के दाता असबर दीन जानकी माता राम रसायन तुम्हारे पासा सदा रहो रघुपति के दासा तुम्हारे भजन राम को पावै जन्म जन्म के दुख बिसरावै अंत काल रघुवर पुर जाई जहाँ जन्म हरि भक्त कहाई और देवता चित्तन धरई हनुमत से सर्व सुख करई संकट कटई मिटई सब पीरा जो सुमिरै हनुमत बल बीरा जय 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 हनुमान गोसाई कृपा करहु गुरुदेव की नाई जो सत बार पाठ कर कोई छूट ही बंदी महासुख होई जो यह पढ़ हनुमान चालीसा होय सिद्धि साखी गौरी सा तुलसीदास सदा हरि चेरा की जय नाथ हृदय महडेरा पवन तनय संकट हरन मंगल मूर्ति रूप राम लखन सीता सहित हृदय बसहु सुर भूप सियावर राम